Hello, universe, and welcome to the Optimist Daily Update. I'm Amelia Buckley.
And I'm Kristy Jansen, and we are part of the team behind the Optimist Daily, making solutions the news. We bring you reader-funded solutions news every day in order to change the tenor of news media, social media, and the direction of your day to help us all get focused on what's going right in the world.
7 days a week, we publish positive news stories written by award-winning journalists and delivered online to your inbox and through our social channels. And also, we are sharing these solutions in a commute-worthy, walk-worthy, home office-worthy, more than 9,000 listens in November-worthy podcast. Today is Monday, the 6th of December, 2021.
Wow.
Okay, so I had to brag a little bit because I was
popping.
looking at our statistics, and we got over 9,000 listens in November, which is huge. So thank you to everyone who listens, aka you guys out there. I'm proud of us.
That's tremendous, Amelia. We have a growing little audience that we love. Send them some love energy. I love it.
It's so funny because I listen to podcasts like when I'm, cleaning my house or cooking or whatnot. And it's kind of strange to think that like someone on the other side of the world might be listening to your voice as they're like scrubbing their toilet or making dinner.
I know. Occasionally I'll be talking to somebody that I know vaguely in my life, and they will mention something that they only could have known by listening to the podcast.
It's very efficient. We can keep all of our relatives like updated without actually having
or distant friends, exactly, and our other friends who we don't even know.
True,
which is wonderful. It's a good way of connecting. Well, what else is going on in your neck of the woods there, Montana? Is it winter to you yet?
Yes, almost. Well, Kristy and I were talking about. She was listening to a podcast where they were discussing what made it winter, like officially where you lived, like whether that was, the actual date of winter that it starts or whether it's, some sort of environmental change. I was saying that it's when snow falls and sticks to the ground seems to be when real winter starts in Montana. Yeah. So it is snowing here today. So hopefully that means if it sticks around,
being from
officially real winter,
then it'll be really winter. Well, being from California, we don't get, where I live in California, we don't get snow. So I just have to go on the lack of light when it gets really dark very early, and we're in that part of the winter solstice, getting close to the winter solstice. So I don't know if winter solstice begins winter and we're still in fall right now, or if since it's December, which is the month of winter solstice, I'm counting it as the start of winter. So winter will end in March.
But you were saying it felt like winter because it was so foggy and cold there, right?
I know. And it's cold to me, which means it's like relative, because to me, 50 degrees is freezing and I have my winter coat out.
No, cold is totally relative.
It's totally relative.
I wear the same clothes like here when it's 30 as I did in California when it was 50. It's like your body adjusts so quickly.
Right. Yeah. Everything is relative. Everything is contingent. Well, what's on our headlines today? Speaking of contingencies.
Yeah, speaking of contingencies. Mine is actually, I kind of picked a hefty article today, so we'll give ourselves plenty of time to talk about it. But mine, the headline reads, "The Rise of Corporate Fertility Benefits." And I actually chose to cover this because I was talking to a friend who works for a company that offers free egg freezing. So that if you want to freeze your eggs as a female employee, the company will cover that cost for you. Which, writing this article, I didn't realize how expensive it can be. It can range anywhere from $6,000 to $20,000 to freeze your eggs. And then there's also monthly storage costs like on top of that. But more and more companies are offering these fertility benefits to their employees. In 2015, only 5% of U.S. employers with over 500 employees covered these like egg freezing costs. And in 2020, that number was 19%. So you've seen a huge increase over the last 5 years. And one of the family care providers, Kindbody, their CEO, said that she's seeing an increase in their demand for their services because flexibility of work from home has more patients thinking about the potential of children with like more flexible schedules. The pandemic has also made it harder for people to meet potential partners, so there may be delaying their family planning. Yeah. And then also, as more companies cover these costs, people are seeing it as a more viable option because it's more affordable now.
Right. And it's in the competition for the right for the best employees, having this as one of your benefits might be the reason to go with one company or another. Plus delaying fertility for a woman is definitely a trade-off for your career, right?
Yeah.
So if you have kids when you're most able to have kids, you might get
Miss
slowed
out
down in
here.
relation to your career and earning
Years.
potential. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, one survey
Interesting.
found that 68% of employees would switch jobs for a better fertility policy. But this article does note that there are some, hesitancies in relation to this. One of the statistics is that if you freeze your own eggs, there's only an 18% chance of having a baby from those frozen eggs, whereas like IVF is on paper more effective. And then there's also the argument that if companies don't have generous maternal and paternal leave benefits in addition to egg freezing, it kind of makes the whole thing pointless.
And also, men have fertility issues as well. You can't just blame the women.
Exactly. This says 50% of fertility issues among partners are attributed to the male partner. So there's definitely some room for improvement here, but as more companies take on these benefits, there's definitely more discussion around the issue of fertility and family planning.
Well, it's interesting in this moment that we're in right now, as Roe v. Wade is being the future of that landmark legislation in the United States is being debated and is in question. It may be overturned in the next few months. The idea that American companies are now looking at fertility as an employee issue, a labor issue. I agree with what this article says, that you shouldn't just talk about egg freezing. Maybe you should also think about sperm freezing and helping couples get pregnant, not just the women, but also the men. I mean, I think gender equality is super important to consider.
And, in our current landscape, maybe ensuring that all of your healthcare options also have access to comprehensive birth control.
Absolutely, because that's another. If you're going to get rid of abortion, you gotta and you gotta take that into consideration too.
It depresses me. I can't even go into that topic.
I know. Anyway, as a woman and as a human being, I think it's interesting that companies are now starting to think about the role of family in a different way. And maybe it's because there's more women in the workforce. Maybe it's because we are starting to widen the lens of what needs to be working for an economy to be successful, a whole economy. And you have to give supportive services to the families and to the parents who are raising the kids and also taking care of their grandparents. So I think it's an interesting moment in our labor policy and the way that companies are thinking about a good menu of benefits for their employees. So this is interesting.
Yeah. Well, I think your story today is also kind of women-centered. What do you want to talk about today?
It is women-centered because it's about a group of women who are working together to save a forest and to save the endangered flora in a particular forest. But it's also about the feminine principle, so I think both of our stories kind of are touching on the feminine principle. So it's not just women, but it's also the idea of prioritizing the caretaking and the caregiving aspects of the human tapestry. and it doesn't have to be men, or it doesn't have to be women or men. But anyway, the headline that I wanted to highlight reads, "This all-female rainforest team is protecting India's endangered flora." And we all know, we see it in the headlines every day. We write about it often on the Optimist Daily, and you see it all over the place, especially now. One of the most alarming effects of climate change is the toll it is having on global biodiversity. And we're only going to see these impacts exacerbated over time. And there's a lot of urgency to act. This is something that we're just talking about all the time. We feel it more and more. Some natural parts of the world, however, are already really starting to experience the sting of global warming. One of those places is India's Western Ghats mountain range, where about 90% of the area's forests have disappeared as a result of general deforestation and also the changing climate, just the changing temperature profiles and moisture profiles in the area. In order to address this, and sort of this is a lucky, interesting story that we are highlighting, there's an all-female team of rainforest practitioners that is determined to protect the area's remaining enclaves of biodiversity by kind of creating these little nursery labs for the flora that would otherwise be thriving in the rainforest there. This area is listed as a UNESCO World Heritage Area, the region, it's home to over 325 globally threatened flora and fauna species. And there's a team at the Garukula Botanical Sanctuary that is made up of women. It's specifically 27 different women who are working to preserve the endangered plant species that help keep the regional ecosystem in balance. So it's just this really, we just love celebrating the people who are using their hands and their feet and their minds to support the natural world in this kind of way. So that's why I like the story. It documents this plant sanctuary that has been in the business of protecting endangered flora species for about 50 years. So it's not like a new thing. They've been doing this for a long time. And since it was established, there's been 3 generations of rainforest gardeners who are actually women from the surrounding villages that work with botanists to keep the rainforest ecosystem in balance. And they do this by targeting specific plants that are suffering. They may take it and replant it. They may feed it compost, make a natural pesticide to help keep pests down. So it's really about stewardship in the area. And the other reason I wanted to just talk about this article is it's like we like to think that nature is on one side and humanity or civilization is on the other. But in reality, the entire planet has been curated by humans for the whole time that we've been here. And as we've become more and more populous, we are definitely affecting the non-human nature that's out there. But we're really a part of nature. And so these forests have always had people living in them, working with them. And it's just that the appreciation for keeping the forest healthy has lost its footing in the last, 100 years, maybe. And maybe that's coming back as a priority. And it's more about preserving the forest, preserving what's there, and being a good steward of that environment, even if that means creating a pesticide from cow urine and take care of a tree, or putting compost around a particular stand of bushes or trees to help keep it really flourishing. So,
and I love this one because it's talking about the Indian rainforest, which I think a lot of the times when we talk about the rainforest, people assume it's the Amazon rainforest, but there's rainforests, all over the world. So I like this little highlight of one that doesn't get talked about as much.
Doesn't talk about that. It's not as big as the Amazon, but there's rainforests. I mean, the Pacific Northwest has rainforests.
Very true.
Anyway, so that's my article that I wanted to just highlight. Go check it out on the website today. What else is out there? Amelia, do you want to read some other headlines?
Yeah, we got some other great ones today. It's kind of a heavy Monday on the Optimist Daily. We're tackling some big topics, but
fluffy
I'm
stuff.
here for it. It's a big learning day. We've got Canada fast tracks a bill to ban conversion therapy. Nap pads could prevent hundreds of homeless deaths this year. Botswana has decriminalized homosexuality. And the U.S. is going to make at-home COVID tests free to all Americans. So they're doing that through insurance reimbursement and also through free distribution sites. What else do we have?
New Zealand is the first nation to protect drug checking services by law. And I was talking about this with Amelia, but apparently it's the illegal drugs like cocaine or heroin that you can get checked to make sure there's no traces of scary stuff like fentanyl in them before you use them. That's for drug users. But it's protecting that service by
harm
law.
Reduction.
It's harm reduction.
All about harm reduction.
All about harm reduction. We have an article about apple cider vinegar, which can be a good mood booster. Who would have thunk? So that and more are available for you on theoptimistdaily.com. And that's it for this Monday of the Optimist Daily Update. Thanks everybody for listening today. And always, we love you guys. So Amelia, I'm so thrilled that we've hit the numbers we've hit in November, and maybe December we'll even have a bigger audience. That'd be so good because, we need more of us thinking about what are the solutions and how's the world working, not just focus on how it's broken. But we promise to keep sharing these positive solution-based stories on this podcast and on the website and in your inboxes with ideas every day on how you can participate in a changing world and ensure it is changed for the good. We promise to keep covering current events with accurate, legitimate sources and offering you the information we all need to chart new paths for all of us.
Please, if you guys aren't already, consider becoming an emissary on theoptimistdaily.com, and for just $5 a month, support reader-funded independent journalism. This also makes a great gift for those people in your life that you're looking to give holiday gifts to. Help us by being part of the solution, changing consciousness and addressing our world's biggest challenges with a problem-solving mindset. Guys, let's keep the Optimist Daily free to all who need it, supported by those who can. Thanks for listening, and we will be back tomorrow with more solutions.